Alrighty. All right. How to visit Bali, and let's get it. This was an amazing trip that my wife Madison and I were able to finally go on. We were set to go to Bali after our wedding for our honeymoon back in 2019. So we got married in 2019, the end of 2019, and we set our honeymoon for June of 2020. That obviously didn't happen, right? So we were really bummed, obviously. And then through those next few years, we took a bunch of different trips all over, but then we were always still set on going back to Bali. That was definitely our honeymoon. Even though we took a bunch of different trips, we went to Australia even. That still wasn't our honeymoon. We did set that up. People were like, oh, that's your honeymoon. No, we're going on our honeymoon. Then we're going to make that Bali. So we made it happen 5 years later, which was really cool because we were coming up on our 5-year wedding anniversary, 10 years together. It was really cool. So it was all a really good timing, because we planned eventually to take this trip when we were ready to try to start having a family. So that's our goal now. So I have everything outlined here, and I kind of want to go through point by point by sections to kind of talk about our trip and how I can maybe provide some information to y'all out there, because I did a ton of research. I stumbled across a bunch of different YouTube videos and forums and Reddit forums and all that stuff. So I want to be able to provide some information really quickly and easily in a organized fashion to be able to help someone who wants to go to Bali. So I'm going to start with before you travel. So some of the big stuff here is, of course, coming from most countries. I can only speak once again for the United States. So that's where everything's going to be coming from, the United States, traveler from the United States, is we need an EVA, an e-visa on arrival. It's a B1 technically. That's like the section of it. And directly from the Indonesia government site. There are a lot of scams out there that try to take your money and this and that. There really are. So please go to the actual Indonesian government website and get the visa through there. Not an easy to use website, I will say. I had to take multiple times for Madison specifically. Mine took immediately. I had to try over and over again for Madison's, but you do have to get that done at least as a US traveler, and it's good for, I think, 30 days. You're able to do that quite a bit ahead of time. I think it was 90 days ahead of time. I could be wrong. I think you could do it up to 90 days before your trip, and then it was valid for 30 days once you arrive or something like that. So you need that. You also are supposed to do your tourist tax through the Love Bali website, which is supposed to help with, keeping Bali beautiful. I will say that no one ever checked if we did that tax. I think it was only like $15 a person, USD. But you are supposed to do that. So we got that done. I had the record if anybody were to ask me that we did that, did we do that tax? So we had that. I also did get an international driver's permit, an IDP, which is, once again, supposed to be required if you're going to drive or ride a scooter over there. I already have a motorcycle license here in the United States. I had a motorcycle, so well aware of the dangers that come along with that. And I was very confident in my abilities, even though I know it is an Asian country, so it can be quite a bit different with the environment. But I still wanted to get that permit because, once again, you were supposed to have it. So I just wanted to get the boxes checked. Had it with me the entire time. No one stopped me ever or asked for it ever once, I will say. Not even the people that we rented the scooters from. They didn't ask for anything. They actually just asked for a passport. They did ask for my passport. One of them didn't even ask for that, but they were all great. So they asked for that, but I had the international driver's permit. If you want to make sure you don't get hassled by anybody, I would just have that. It was super cheap. I got it from AAA, which there's offices around the US here. Just got it there. I think it was $20 or something like that. And I was good to drive a scooter. The other big thing you're going to need before is an eSIM. An eSIM, make sure you have service while you are not connected to Wi-Fi. Did a ton of research on this, and I ended up actually finding this app called Mobimatter. It's an app, and then there's a lot of different brands within that app, and I found the brand 3, literally like 3, the number 3, SIM, was a company that had great reviews. I did other research on that. Seemed like the coverage was great all throughout the island of Bali. And we got a package that was 30 gigs, valid for 30 days, even though we were only there for 2 weeks. I guess I should have clarified that. We were there for 2 weeks, and it was only $15.99 a person. We both did get it. That was definitely by far the cheapest that I've seen anywhere. And honestly, the service was perfect. It worked everywhere we went. We went all around the island of Bali, even to Nusa Lembongan and Nusa Canggu, and worked great. So I will definitely highly suggest that 3 branded on the Mobimatter app. Drivers. So if you do want to set up any drivers or any pre-booked travel, ahead of time. Like once you arrive to have a driver waiting for you, you want to do that ahead of time. There's a lot of Facebook pages to find drivers or Instagram to find drivers. You can do that. The other thing you'd want to set up ahead of time are any decorations. That's a very popular thing in Bali, especially with tourists, is like setting up decorations at your villa or your resort. I did have the first villa we arrived at, I did have the whole pool situation with the flower petals on the pool. I sent a special message that meant a lot to us. So I did do that. So you want to set that up ahead of time, coordinate, make sure that you coordinate with either the villa manager and then also the flower company. Sometimes the villa manager will actually do that themselves and they actually have that whole team, or you kind of have to coordinate in between. Kind of a pain, I will say. And there was a big snafu with one of them, to be totally frank. So definitely just try to make that communication as clear as possible. Make sure everyone's on the same page so you don't run into any issues. So you'd probably want to pre-book activities or excursions if you have any very specific ones on specific dates. Obviously, you're able to kind of hop around and do anything that you really need. There's everything going on all the time. But, we did make sure to book a certain massage place that I wanted to go to, a certain scuba place we wanted to do when we went scuba diving on Nusa Lembongan for a certain day, a photographer that we booked a photo shoot with, and then we did book a driver, which I'll talk about, for one day, and then scooters I wanted to book ahead of time as well to make sure those were locked in. So those are some examples. The other thing is for money-wise, I'll dive into it a little bit deeper as well, but just in general, 100,000 IDR, Indonesian rupiah, was about $6 at the time. So I know that can change. It was about $6. So 100,000 was 6 for us, and that's kind of how I did the math. So the next thing I want to cover is the scooters or the driving and the traffic situation. So first off, I ended up booking and doing, once again, a bunch of research, figured out that somewhere around a 160 or 150 cc would be plenty good for both of us. Madison would ride on the back. Specifically a Honda Vario. I'm pretty familiar with Honda growing up with like dirt bikes and all that, and I know they're just super reliable. They'll just keep running. So I was like, all right, they have good reviews. Let's go with that one. So I tried to get that specifically. Really nice bikes. We rented from a few different places in all the 3 different places that we went to, of course. And I'll put the links of the names of who we went to. I know the first one in Canggu was Boku Garage. On Lembongan, I think it was Mr. Lembongan Scooter, I think. He was really nice as well. And then in Ubud, I forget exactly. I think it was, I'll put that one in there as well. But I'll put those links because all the 3 worked out. The scooters worked perfectly and they were all good. I did pre-book those ahead of time to make sure that they would be delivered to the hotel. Normally the cost of the scooter was, just included them being delivered to the villa, kind of depending on where they're located. So obviously I looked for a Canggu rental company when we were going to Canggu. They delivered it. They were waiting for us at the villa when we got there that night. Really awesome. The prices, at least for the time when we went, I got, because each time was either like between 4 and 6 days that I had the rental per scooter, was 100 or 110 IDR, rupiah, Indonesian rupiah per day. So really, really cheap, right around $6 a day, which was awesome. And then of course at the end, you just fill it up to whatever it was full before. So you just pay a little bit for fuel. The fuel situation was really funny. There's like these side fuel stands. They're just like either in literal plastic water bottles, like you can see the green fuel that they fill it up with, and you just pay depending on how full the water bottle is, or they have these old school pumps where they like fill it up depending on how much you want to pay, and then they use like a pump to pump that into the scooter. Also, we had a really funny story where we pulled up at night once, needed a little bit of gas, and the guy was filling up a scooter in front of us, and the dude was just ripping a cig while pumping the gas, and we're like, this is just, not the US. So it was pretty funny. Loved it though. I mean, obviously super nice people, right? We had a great time. I'm not hating on it at all. So we got the scooters all set up, pre-booked ahead of time. They all worked great. I think the Honda Vario 160 is a great one. There are also newer ones. The Canggu one was the newest one, and it was really nice. Had like a wireless key fob, all that fun stuff. So really easy. Traffic rules. So traffic there. Traffic is wild. There are cars everywhere, and it's very busy in all the places that we went to. Kind of, no matter how far you go, it was kind of traffic everywhere. That being said, there aren't really traffic rules. So you kind of just do what is best with the flow of traffic. So obviously for the US, they drive on the other side of the road. So that's the first thing if you're not used to that. Definitely make sure you're used to that. If you are renting a scooter, I will say that you have to be extremely confident and capable. But I would say even more confident is probably more important, because you just have to go with the flow of traffic. If you don't go with the flow of traffic, you will not go anywhere. Because if the flow of traffic, all of a sudden the scooters are all going on the other side of the road up on the sidewalk, that's where you're going. So if you're not comfortable doing that, maybe I would say just use Grab or Gojek to hop on the back of a scooter. Someone else like a Grab or like an Uber, it's like you hop on their scooter, or private driver, right? But the scooters, we got around so easily. You could go zip around everywhere and just park it anywhere and you're good to go. And it was fun. I had a blast. Obviously, like I said, I kind of grew up with all that stuff. So it was really fun to just buzz around and zip around and go anywhere you want and not really have any rules about it as long as you're being safe. I will say all the drivers were really safe. I didn't see one accident. We didn't see any problems with anything, even though you come up to an intersection and cars are just everywhere, and scooters, I should say. And then you can also get a private driver. So these range from, you can have them half day, full day. They can do tours, excursions, all these crazy things. We did actually book a private driver ahead of time through a friend, and it ended up being our good friend that's been to Bali a few times. The driver that he set us up with, he actually was sick that day, so he set us up with his sister. So she took us around, but it was the day we actually ferried back from Lembongan, and we had to make a few stops on the way up to Ubud. So I was like, well, that's a good opportunity just to have a driver and keep our luggage, because we had our luggage with us, so we couldn't just use a Grab the whole time. So private divers or drivers, the range in price, I think it just depends on literally who you talk to. I think our private driver, who pretty much was with us all day, went to a few different stops for us, waited for us the whole time, and then dropped us off in Ubud from Sanur Port all the way up to Ubud. I think it was like $50 maybe for all day, so not bad. Let's dive into flights. Pretty simple. So I did a lot of research on this. I was trying to find something that was affordable, yet safe, of course, and then a good value for what you're paying for. Previously, before our honeymoon in 2019, I booked EVA Air. Cost-wise and length of travel and the spots where we went and kind of the layovers and all that just made the most sense. For us, it was $1,979 per person in just regular economy. So nothing fancy. And that was totally fine. We obviously kind of try to pick our seats strategically, so we'd maybe not have someone next to us or have an aisle and all that kind of stuff. But it was fine. Overall, the service was really good. Plenty of service during the flights, the long flights. We had a layover in Taiwan, but we had a few different connections, of course. But yeah, service was good. Food was good. I will say the food was very Asian. It was Asian food, Asian-inspired food. It's a Taiwanese airline, so it's to be expected. So that's just something I'll dive into a little bit later with the food as well. The only other thing for flights-wise, like travel, we did actually stop at the Oriental Lounge in the Taiwan airport. And those are kind of the lounges that you can pay for or have access via maybe like American Express or different airlines. You can have access to these. We paid for the Oriental Lounge, and I actually found it on, I originally found it, but then I found it for a better deal on Klook, or however you might say that, Klook, which is a marketplace for everything from drivers to lounges to excursions. Seems to be in like the Asian countries, and found that, and it was way cheaper. Man, I wish I remembered the price. I could probably pull it up. I'll probably pull it up and put the price right here for you. But definitely pretty affordable, because we were there for about 6 hours on a layover, super early in the morning. I think we landed at 4, so the lounge opened up at like 5 or 5:30, and then we were there for a couple hours. Food. I actually showered there. They had a gym, but it was definitely not a gym. It was literally like this. A seated recumbent bike behind like this wall. So don't be fooled by that. But food was pretty good, drinks, all that, coffees and such. So that was nice, and it was nice and comfortable, and then you could charge everything up and you're good to go. Moving on to our arrival. So when we showed up in Bali. So we showed up in Bali. The flight there, I believe, was about 30 hours of travel, not just a flight, of total travel with layovers and such. So you're all messed up time-wise and how you're feeling and such, but the arrival was pretty easy. We had our e-visa, which was literally, you walked right through these gates automatically, checks you're good to go. Please do that. It helps everything so much. There was a crazy line for like non-e-visa if you didn't get it online ahead of time. So we went right through, but then we did wait forever at luggage claim. So maybe, 6 one way, half dozen the other, because we did wait for a long time. I think maybe even an hour, 45 minutes at the luggage claim, but it all showed up. So I was fine with that. We didn't have a driver pre-booked or anything like that, because I did some research that Grab, it's like their Uber. They have Grab and Gojek, which is like their Uber and Uber Eats and all that over there. I saw that the Grab was just going to be way more affordable and super easy. There's no reason not to use that. There's actually a dedicated like Grab lounge right outside the airport. You have to kind of walk through everything. Everyone's trying to get you a taxi, all that. Just keep walking. You go across. There's a sign for it. Literally, Grab lounge. You walk across the street. Still a part of the airport, and there's like a lounge. You can even stay in the AC while you're waiting. I will say, even though literally at the lounge there were people there claiming they were a part of Grab, trying to get you to go in their car, but they weren't a part of Grab, and they were definitely trying to, get some more money out of you. Of course, I mean, they're just trying to get money and do their job, which is fine, but just be careful. They were saying they were Grab. They definitely weren't. And I confirmed that with one of the actual Grab employees. So just be wary of all that kind of stuff. Just, with traveling internationally, always be careful. Be aware of your surroundings, pay attention to everything. And that goes for walking around every day in the United States as well. Pay attention. So we got a Grab there. It took an hour and a half to get to Canggu. That was our first stop. So we arrived in Denpasar. It took about an hour and a half. Just be mindful of that as you take your time. It does take a long time to travel anywhere around Bali, even though it was only, I think it's only like 20 or 15 kilometers or something like that. It took a long time to get there. And then on the way back, just to kind of hit on that as well, we were coming from Ubud on the way back to the airport at the end of our trip, and it took about 2 hours, even though that's still only, like I said, like 25 kilometers or something. And that was just in the middle of the day. I think that was at noon, I believe. So that's arrival. Alrighty, so a little bit more on the money side of things. One of the things that we weren't exactly sure on yet, but it definitely was really helpful, is that they pretty much accept credit cards everywhere. Everywhere that we went. I should say we definitely went to Canggu, Nusa Lembongan, and Ubud. So there were places on Nusa Lembongan that did not take cards, because a lot of the places on Nusa Lembongan, which I'll get into, were much more rural. But if it was a restaurant, they all took cards. They just charged they charged like an extra processing fee, which I think was like 3%. But like everywhere in Canggu did, all the restaurants and places in Ubud did. So yeah, you could definitely use a card. Obviously, make sure that's good internationally. Try not to have any international currency conversion charges, stuff like that. I just used actually a Costco a Visa card, which is a great card. So take that everywhere, and then obviously cash as well. But we really didn't use cash that often. The food and activities in general were cheap, super affordable. Activities like scuba diving, or if you're renting a scooter or stuff like that, like super cheap. But like if you wanted to go shopping, not necessarily souvenirs, but go to all the shops and the boutiques and the different places that were around Canggu and Ubud, obviously a little bit more touristy, but just, shopping for clothes or boutique stuff for the ladies, they were honestly like Scottsdale, Arizona prices where we live. So don't really expect to find any good deals on like surf clothes there or stuff like that, because that wasn't really the case. And we went to a lot of different places for sure. Tipping, it's not a tipping culture, which is definitely a nice change coming from the US, at least for us. It's not a tipping culture. When we did tip people, we did obviously for certain scenarios want to tip people to show our appreciation, and they were like extremely grateful for it. And it was such small amounts of money in the grand scheme of things. And the service was also amazing in all different avenues, whether that be like a restaurant or just someone on the side of the road. People just like randomly helped us move our scooter. You know what I mean? They're just so nice in all different ways in the way they're serving the tourists. They're very welcoming to the tourists, which is nice to see. So I'm really hoping that I'm hitting all the points here. Like I said, if there's anything missing, feel free to comment or shoot me a message and I'll try to answer it for you. So diving into the people and the culture, I already was just touching on that, is that they're just so kind. Like they're really, really kind people, really grateful and just kind and sweet and kind-hearted in everything they're doing and saying, which is really, really fun and kind of a big switch up from society. They're just nice no matter what. The language barrier. Now, obviously, we are in their country. Madison and I have traveled internationally often. We go to Mexico quite a bit, and the Caribbean as well. I am fully understanding. We fully understand this is their country. We are there to visit. I am not expecting them to speak English at all. I just want to preface with that. I totally understand that. But what made it difficult is that, so from the kind of general consensus is that they were very good at the basics of English. Let's say they were a server, they could do their job extremely well. They knew the menu. They could do the basics of like, oh, do you need more drink or this and that, etc. But then we really wanted to have conversations with people. We were really trying to get to know them and their culture. Like genuinely, we were asking them questions about like, oh, what is that ceremony going on over there? Or what is that? And they didn't know how to tell us. So we just couldn't have a conversation. So that language barrier was definitely a little tough because we were trying to kind of ask them questions that I guess maybe they don't normally get. So they didn't know how to tell us that in English. So that was kind of a little bit of a bummer. Sometimes we did use a translator and end up having some conversations with some guys that could speak a little bit better English and told us some fun stuff. So just something to keep in mind. A few of the words that in general in Indonesia, terima kasih is thank you. But we actually were taught by one of the guys there is that suksma, Suksma, is the Balinese specific way to say thank you. So that's something that they even appreciate a little bit more. Suksma is thank you. Obviously, you're saying that a lot. They're very kind. And then there's holidays going on all the time to celebrate different things where they decorate and celebrate. And they do all different types of offerings as well. And one of them, the holidays, it was going on while we were there, which was amazing and like perfect for us. It was actually when we were on Nusa Lembongan traveling back to Ubud that day. It was called Tumpek Landep, and it happens every 210 days. And it's to celebrate everything on all things metal, specifically scooters and cars, which we are car people, as you can probably see on some of the video. Like we are car people. This whole wall is like license plates and car show stuff. Decorated their cars with all the leaves and the designs and the flowers and everything. They're all decorated in the scooters. It was awesome. So pretty cool. There's holidays and parades going on all over the place to celebrate their culture. The other thing is there's offerings everywhere, which is gorgeous. They literally place them everywhere. They're all on the ground. They're on the ground in front of every entrance, at corners, at shops, at houses, at restaurants, wherever there's their offerings with what they're offering up, as well as a little incense. There's incense burning everywhere. So just be mindful of that if you have any sensitivities to allergies or anything like that. But the offerings were awesome. Definitely, you're not supposed to, try not to step on them, try not to mess them up, try not to do anything, to damage them. They are all over the place. So be mindful. You literally, sometimes in the middle of the road, you have to kind of avoid them. They're literally in the middle of the road, not exaggerating. The thing about people in the culture that was a little bit lame to us is that we were trying to find, literally the whole time we were there, we were trying to find like authentic art from Bali, like genuine authentic art that we could bring home and put in our house. And we really didn't find any. We, of course, yes, we went to very popular places, Canggu, Ubud, Nusa Lembongan, I get that. But we did venture quite far out of Canggu and out of Ubud as well, kind of just going and driving far away on our scooter because we had the scooter we were able to. And we even got to this one place pretty far northwest of Ubud, just a town where it ended up being like a bunch of different shops and stuff. And we stopped and like we're walking around. It was all the same junk that they were selling in the tourist trap malls, like right in the center of Ubud and Canggu and stuff, but literally just like presented differently because I think they're literally selling it to other Balinese people to then go sell to tourists. So that was a really weird thing for us, is like we couldn't really find any like authentic art or piece of something that we could bring home. It was just really just a lot of junk, which was unfortunate. There are a lot of repeated stuff. Maybe it was an actual painting, but you literally saw it in every single shop. So something to be mindful of. If you can find some, awesome. Like it's really cool. I would love to, find some authentic stuff like that. Maybe if we go back at some point. Diving into the food side of things. I know we've already talked on it a few different times, but really, obviously, we're in Indonesia. The main thing that they have there are nasi goreng and mie goreng. That is fried rice and fried noodles. It's everywhere. It's all over the place. They do breakfast, lunch, and dinner with that. There are varieties of different restaurants that you can go to, but that really is the bulk of everything that is there for sure. Definitely depends on where you're at though. Canggu, we went, there was tons of awesome cafes and coffee shops and croissants and all the fruit and all that good stuff. Lots of more trendy kind of new age, westernized stuff for sure, which was fun. Nusa Lembongan, much more rural. Everything was outside. All the shops were outside, the restaurants were outside, and pretty much all the restaurants were nasi goreng and mie goreng. We did find a really nice sushi restaurant there though. That's probably the most expensive meal we had, and it was like $30, and we got a ton of sushi. So, but yeah, lots of nasi and mie goreng, and then in Ubud, a little bit of everything, but still lots of local warungs of all the different food. For the nasi goreng, probably the best that I had was actually a local warung in Canggu, really highly rated, but right in the heart of Canggu, popular little area. I got a big old thing of nasi goreng chicken, and then kind of like a fried chicken, orange chicken thing, but authentic. You could tell it wasn't frozen. And it was like the whole thing was only like $3. So really cheap. You can get a lot of good cheap food there. And those are kind of the main staples there. Lots of breakfast things. They do tons of eggs and croissants and coffees and all that. The coffee is great. Love getting all the lattes and stuff. It's really fun. Tons of fruit. That's probably the thing that we missed the most, or at least I missed the most, I guess I should say. The dragon fruit was amazing. The mango was so good. And their smoothie bowls are legit. They're not like the fake acai stuff here. It's a legit smoothie, and then amazing layers of real fruit and toppings on top. Soda and energy drinks. There's not much soda and energy drinks there. I don't drink alcohol. We don't drink alcohol. But soda and energy drinks are like my vice. They pretty much just have like Coke and Coke Zero. I might have had a few other options, but I was really just drinking Coke Zero. And they have no energy drinks. They have none at all. They have these weird like glass little bottles of like Red Bull concentrate. I did get one of them. They're like these crazy looking little glass bottles, but they're like super high sugar, like concentrate, non-carbonated, very different, very kind of weird thing. But so if that's what you're really into, they don't have any there. The other big thing, the coffee, really good coffee. We liked a lot of it at the cafes, but they don't really have a lot of sweeteners there. So if you like sweeter coffee, if you want like a 0-calorie option, we use stevia. And since we've traveled internationally quite a bit, we actually really learned to just bring it with us. We literally bring this liquid stevia squirt bottle, which is an all-natural sweetener. We just bring it with us and put it in our bag or our pocket and have it with us if we need it. We found really cool things at grocery stores like local protein balls and overnight oats, which was kind of fun because we love eating stuff like that. So it was fun to find that like actually local made in Bali, as well as these really good, it's like Love Boom Bali or something like that. I'll tag them up here as well. Amazing protein cookies, like all natural ingredients made there in Bali. We're like freaking so good. Diving into gyms and the wellness side of things. Obviously, that is what we do. That is my passion. It's also what we do professionally. We host wellness events and all that fun stuff. So I wanted to check out gyms. A few different ones we went to. Raw Gym in Canggu was awesome. Outdoors vibe, tons of equipment. They had like turf area, like really cool, but still like grungy, but still nice equipment, nice enough, really cool, right in the heart of Canggu. We went to Nirvana Life, totally different. And Nirvana Life is this whole wellness center. And it has a full gym, outdoor gym, classes, stretch classes, like gymnastics classes, has a full multiple different pools, cold plunges, sauna, hot tubs, spa, everything in between, pool on the rice paddies, food, cafe, internet, the whole thing. More of kind of like a wellness kind of community. The gym itself was actually really small. I will say, like, if I lived there, I would not go to that gym because like the gym itself was really small. The outdoor gym, like if you want to just do CrossFit, I guess you could do that. Outdoor space was cool, but the indoor like equipment stuff, very, very small. But that place was very cool though for like the cold plunge and all that fun stuff. We also went to Guanyin Yoga Shala right in Canggu near Batu Belang Beach in Canggu. Really cool, gorgeous property to do yoga. And then we went to Samadhi Yoga Sound Healing event. Not an event, just a class in Canggu as well. Amazing sound healing near the full moon, it was phenomenal sound healing. We love that. We do that here for our events as well. And then I went to K Gym, literally the letter K for Koper, K Gym on Nusa Lembongan. So everything else was in Canggu. This K Gym was on Nusa Lembongan. It was the grungiest old school gym I've ever been to, and it was awesome. Rusted out things. They even had an old school dumbbell that were literally like the circle, like strongman dumbbells back in the day. They had those. So really cool. Love that vibe. Literally like outdoors. There's like a smoothie place next door. Like it was just like the owner like made smoothies for you. I took a shot of pre-workout out of a shot glass or something they gave me that they had like pre-workout for sale. It was hilarious. So maybe that's how I got sick. And then lastly in Ubud, I went to one gym called Gymnasium Bali, which was a very, very nice gym. It was attached to this big like resort kind of area. But it was a very nice gym, very, very big, had everything you need. Really nice equipment, really, really cool. Next up, we got beaches. Obviously, we definitely love going to beaches, so we tried to go and kind of do that adventure side of things as well. So in Canggu, we went to Batu Belang Beach, right in the heart of Canggu. Really nice beach, and it definitely wasn't as dirty as, a lot of times we were pretty worried that the beaches were going to be dirty and kind of trash everywhere and stuff like that. And honestly, it really wasn't that bad. And in general in Bali, it wasn't really that trashy. Like, yes, it's not the US, it's different. They do things different there. They burn trash on the side of the road. There's a lot of random fires and burnings like that, but it wasn't that bad. And the beach itself was clean. There was no trash. The water was clean. Felt good. Felt great actually. Temperature was amazing, and it's just kind of like a dark sand, not a pure black sand beach, but it is kind of a black sand beach. We surfed there. I surfed with Surf Vibes Bali. I rented a board there, a real long board there. It was literally $3 for 2 hours. I did that 2 different days. So I got a few waves. I actually caught the best wave that I've ever caught before, I think, on the first day there, which was pretty fun. And then the other beach we went to was when we were on Nusa Lembongan. We stayed right at Dream Beach, on that beach at Dream Beach on Nusa Lembongan, and that was amazing. Sand was gorgeous. The water was phenomenal. The waves, it was just a gorgeous setting. That was an amazing beach. So highly recommend go check out that beach, or if you can stay on the Dream Beach huts, I'll tell you more about that as well. All right, so speaking of getting sick, we both got sick. We were there for 14 total nights. I definitely got Bali belly. That's what they call it. Madison got something a little bit different, maybe just more of like a sickness, kind of run down. Don't know what it's from. I tried to be safe. We were being as safe as possible while still having fun and not being freaks about it. But definitely, I took probiotics ahead of time, all that fun stuff, and still didn't help me. It destroyed me really, really bad. I will say we were on Nusa Lembongan, and it was probably the worst place for me to get that. We did miss out on a day of exploring Nusa Penida, unfortunately, but still, in the scheme of things, pretty good day for that to happen because I just was able to hang out. We were able to hang on the gorgeous beach, recover. IV clinics, crucial. If you do get sick, go to an IV clinic as soon as possible. And in a lot of cases, not on Nusa Lembongan, they will come right to your villa for super cheap as well. So we did have to go to a clinic on Nusa Lembongan. I got the IV. They kind of just sat there, drip it in there, you're good to go. And I honestly felt so much better right after. I was just pretty weak, and then I didn't really want to eat for a few days. But it was pretty rough, really, really, really rough. Probably the sickest I've ever been on that side of things before. And then when we were in Ubud, Madison got sick as well. Like I said, she did end up getting an IV. We had the people come to our villa, which was another gorgeous place to sit and relax. She was just kind of run down. She did get a little bit sick, but it was more just run down, really tired. She got a bunch of different like vitamins and such pumped in as well from the clinic, and you're good to go. So tons of clinics out there. A lot of times they do that for like hangovers. Obviously, we don't do that, but they do it for Bali belly as well. So take a look out for those. Accommodation. So in Bali, there are endless places to stay. You could literally stay for like $10 a night, and you can stay up to like thousands of dollars a night. Totally depends on where and how you want to stay. We obviously, this being our honeymoon, and having what we wanted to do and the kind of a budget with that, we wanted to stay in nicer places. We stayed in 3 different places. We stayed in Canggu. We stayed in the Batu Karu Villa. That one was a private villa, but they were kind of connected. There were multiple of them, but we had our own private pool. Private outdoor bathroom, which was epic, very cool. They did it like all glass around into the bedroom. That one was a little bit pricier. It was a really good location in Canggu, so it felt out because it had a rice field view. It felt out in nature, but you were still really close to Canggu, kind of on the outskirts just by a tad. That one was a little bit pricier. I think it was like $180 a night, I believe. Stayed there for like 5 nights. In Nusa Lembongan, we at the Dream Beach Huts, which is right on Dream Beach. Totally hut style, very rugged, literally thatch roof huts, just a bed, that's it, and a totally outdoor bathroom with like water that just comes out of the wall kind of thing. Very rugged. I think that was like $75 a night or something like that, USD. But I mean, the view was, you opened it up, you're looking at this amazing, amazing beach right there. And then in Ubud, one of them was called Love Ashram, and the other one was called Sunset Ashram. We'll link all of the places that we went to in the description below. They were epic. Those villas in Ubud especially were epic. Those were legit villas. Very, very cool. In general, you can find these on Airbnb. That's where we booked the majority of things. Also on Agoda is where we booked actually the Nusa Lembongan. And then you can look on like booking.com and all that kind of stuff. There's so many different options, hostels, hotels, resorts, but all these ended up being villas, semi-private villas, full private villas, and then I guess Nusa Lembongan's kind of like it's a resort, I guess, like a hotel, but they're all individual bungalows on the beach. So kind of like that. But yeah, lots of different awesome places to stay. And then a little bit deeper into the Nusa Islands. So they are right off of Bali, about a 30-40 minute ferry ride. You get there really quickly. You go from a few different ports. So we went from Sanur, which is a port really easy to get to. We took Rocky fast boat cruises. I did a lot of research on that as well. Seemed like the best, safest, most affordable option. It was $400,000 per person each way. So 400,000 times 6, so it's like $24 each way. About $50 round trip. You don't have to jump in the water, at least with Rocky Fast Boat anymore. They have their own dedicated port on Nusa Lembongan. Lembongan, limited food options, like I said, very, very much so limited. We did on the Nusa Islands, we did with Tamarind Divers. We did our 2-tank dives there. We did a dive at Manta Point with all the manta rays. That was the main goal. And we saw and swam with manta rays and dove with them, which was amazing. Really, really cool. And then we went over to Crystal Bay to do the second dive, which was gorgeous. One thing I will say is potentially, even if you don't dive, you could have definitely seen a lot of these mantas and maybe even been closer to them in some cases if you were to just go snorkel Manta Point as well. So that's an option if you love snorkeling or maybe you don't want to dive, you could definitely still see the mantas. And lastly, Nusa or Senegan. I know people say it differently as people that we spoke to at least. We drove over there on the scooter, the famous yellow bridge to cross between Lembongan and Senegan. We went across the scooter. It was really fun a few times. And we went all the way over to Mohana Point, which is like a restaurant place you can hang out and watch surfers ride some legit waves that are kind of right off that cliff there. So it's gorgeous. We watched the sunset there 2 different nights actually. We got some food there and some snacks, and you can also walk around low tide there as well and kind of look around for beach glass and all that fun stuff. Also, I wanted to mention that the Nusa Islands, I would definitely suggest if you're trying to get away from things, away from like the craziness of Bali, I would say head over to the Nusa Islands. From the sound of it, my aunt and uncle actually went to Bali in the 80s, and they were obviously, we talked to them a bunch about this trip, and it sounds like maybe that was kind of more so like Bali back in the day. So if you want to get away from things, go that way. I'll dive now into like massages and spa, our experience with that. Obviously, it's a really popular thing there. You can get that for exceedingly cheap as well. We had a few different experiences. First, I booked one in Canggu I found, which was Kupu Kupu Body Care Spa, right in Canggu. Awesome, really cool, like all outdoor vibes, like really cool, right in nature. We did a full like couples treatment for only 900K, so that's literally less than $60. We did it. It was a 90-minute massage for both of us at the same time. A full body scrub is like 30 minutes, and then also that included like a shower and then a full sauna that they have that looks over the rice field, as well as a cold plunge as well. So that was awesome. Love that experience. And then we also in Ubud went to Green Tara Spa and did a full couples massage there as well. And it was a 4.5-hour treatment for literally $75 a person. And it was a 90-minute massage, a body scrub, a bath, a facial, and then like a manicure or pedicure. It was awesome. Gorgeous grounds. That was amazing as well. You had like your own private room looking out into the jungle while you're taking your bath and the massage and stuff. So that was really cool. Lots of different options for that as well, though. You can just literally walk around the street. There's massage places all over the place, probably for as cheap as like $5, literally like 100,000 IDR. So really, really cheap. Lots of different options, but you can go some really fancy spas as well. And the last topic here, really just want to talk about like waterfalls and activities. So kind of like adventure stuff that we did a bunch of and we really, really enjoyed. So first big one that we absolutely loved was Nung Nung Waterfall. This was an amazing waterfall. We took like an hour and 15-minute ride north of Canggu, like northeast of Canggu. Went super early in the morning. Nung Nung Waterfall was gorgeous. It was so powerful, so big, so it just looked fake. It was so amazing. And we were there totally alone because we got there early in the morning. We met the photographer that I found on Instagram. His name was Krishna. His Instagram is @Krisual. I'll tag him as well. Phenomenal photographer, young dude, super cool. Really, really great photographer. This waterfall was amazing. There's so many gorgeous waterfalls, and if you get there early and if you go off the beaten path a little bit, it can, be really epic. That same day, we drove a little bit further away from everything and stumbled upon Goagang Waterfall. We were the only ones there. Really, really cool. It was definitely a sketchy little road, like this little path, this little kind of ridgeway that we scooted down. So I wouldn't suggest everybody do that, but it was super fun. I liked it. Amazing, another waterfall. We were the only ones there for like an hour, and then 3 other people showed up when we left. So phenomenal. Tons of waterfalls all over. So I encourage you to explore. We also went to Bali Pulina Plantation. So this plantation was actually a coffee plantation. We did do the coffee tasting as well, but we actually didn't like any of the coffees there, which was kind of funny. But what we actually booked was I found that you could do a private natural pool breakfast. So you hike down this kind of cliff into this jungle. Literally, you're in the jungle, and you show up at this natural pool with a waterfall into it, and it's just you book it for 2 hours, and they bring you breakfast at some point. It's a floating breakfast, of course, which is crazy cool. Wild, amazing experience, and I think it was like $30 or whatever, like breakfast included. Like really awesome. Another amazing thing that we did, like for the spiritual side of things, a little bit more cultural, was the Taman Beji Gria waterfall purification ceremony, and it was amazing. You have a guide with you. I forgot the guy's name. He was so nice, and they guide you through the ceremony of offerings. They give you tons of platters of offerings that you offer all the different gods and deities and all these amazing carvings that have been in the caves, and the water is coming out of the cave, and you go through the waterfall and this and get purified here and there and go through these ceremonies. It was phenomenal. And our guide, he was taking photos of us the entire time on our phones, and they were like amazing, killer photos. I'll put some up here as well. That was highly suggested. That was in Ubud as well. The Bali Pulina plantation, by the way, was at Tagalaleng, so north of Ubud by the Tagalaleng rice terraces. And then we also went to Sengay Monkey Forest. Of course, we had to go to a monkey forest. Sengay Monkey Forest was supposed to be a little bit quieter and less touristy, and it really was pretty quiet. There really wasn't that many people there. And also, that was the day we had our driver, and she said that those monkeys seemed to be less aggressive than the other monkey forests that she's been to. So she liked that one. She actually had fun with us, which was really fun. We like walked around together, and they're all jumping around on us. They're still monkeys. They still ripped open the bag that I had that was full of peanuts. You know, they're still jumping all over you, being ridiculous, but it was fun. And then lastly, we went to the Mupu rice terraces. Of course, we had to visit the rice terraces. We're in Bali. I've seen the photos and videos for years, and they were literally amazing. Like they seem fake, even in real life. They seem fake. Mupu rice terrace is just north, kind of a part of Tagalaleng rice terraces, the very touristy where they have the swings and the photos and the tourist traps and all this stuff. This one, kind of a weird entrance, kind of right by off the road. That's right by like a convenience store. You go down, you hike down this little trail, and no tourist traps, no swings, none of that. We're the only ones there. We met the local guy. It's supposedly a family-owned rice terrace, so I'm maybe within the family or whatever. There's like a donation box where you can just donate whatever you want. And then we just walked around and enjoyed it. It was gorgeous, and it definitely looked fake. It is, and that's the last topic I have. So really, if you have any questions, if there's anything I can help with, I've obviously done a ton of research and looked a lot into the details of all this stuff, so let me know if I can help. This was an amazing way to travel Bali. It was 14 total nights at the end of July. Everything went really, really well and smoothly. Bali was a gorgeous place. The people were gorgeous. The culture was amazing to be a part of, and the scenery was, you know, to die for, right? It was absolutely breathtaking. So I would definitely encourage you to visit it and to explore, get off the beaten path, try to find that cool thing that maybe there's no one else there. That's what we try to do, at least. So we had an amazing, eventual, long-awaited honeymoon, and yeah, we had a really, really great time, and I hope you do too. Peace.